Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the VR Download, a show broadcast live from within the Upload Virtual Studios. And I usually say a bunch of other blah, 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 but I'm going to skip all that. How's everybody doing this week? We're ramping up for the holiday season, and there's all sorts of fun stuff to talk about. I'm joined here by Ian. Ian,
hi. This
hello.
is my first time in the new rebuilt studio. Is that a Matrix chair?
It is, actually, yes. Would you like the red pill or the blue pill?
I can never remember which one. I'll eat them both.
I just took them both.
I'll just take them both. Yeah, that's the way to go.
Oh, wow. All right. So, Ian, we're going to talk about our Monday stuff. So this is all hardware, industry news, things like that. And if you're looking for game reviews and what are we playing, that kind of stuff happens on Thursdays in the same studio. Actually, we use the other studio. This is just the two-person studio right now. We've got all sorts of fun options now in the Upload Virtual Studios. I'm looking forward to maybe giving some tours soon, maybe. I don't know. People are always interested in it. Want to say hello to all the folks out in YouTube comment land. Hi, how are you? If you make fun comments and it's relevant to the conversation, we will share it on the show. So that's the value of watching this live. You should definitely like and subscribe and mash all the buttons. Now I sound like I'm a YouTuber now.
Well, I mean, you're a virtual YouTuber, so it's not quite the same thing. Like, we take the headset off, we go back to being in real world.
Do we, though?
We'll see. Mean, yeah.
Just get out of one event and into another. The way it works. All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and get into the news for this week. I think we've got some fun stuff and definitely going to mispronounce some things. So let's get into it. All right. Our first news piece this week is the NVIDIA $399 RTX 3060 Ti. And it's apparently the most affordable Ampere. Am I saying that right?
I think so, yeah.
Ampere? Yeah, generation card yet. So that's the current generation. It's supposed to be, it claims to be, performance similar to the 2080. And look at this. Stevie the TV is providing us with a graph. So what do we think about this? I mean, well, first of all, Ian, what card do you have currently?
This is a 2080 in my PC down there, and it works fine. I haven't had a need to kind of... I'm not a flight simulator person, so I haven't felt a need to like really amp that up to the best possible level. But yeah, the 2080 is working great.
Do we really think that this? Because anytime you change generations, and then you try to compare it to the previous generations, it's like comparing Granny Smith apples to Gala apples. They're still both apples, but they're different flavors. So, I mean, what's your take on this?
The thing about the chip companies is they tend to like embed new technologies in each new generation. So maybe they don't necessarily chart outright on the new generation of cards. Maybe it takes a little bit of time for whatever new technology they've embedded in the next generation of cards to actually be adopted by the entire industry out there and actually take advantage of some of that stuff. That wouldn't be the case for like a Super, where it's like still part of the rest of the generation and it's just a more affordable version with a lot of power. But like, it's one of those things where you got to decide whether you're buying the first of the next generation or the last of the previous generation. And
yeah, I'm kind of stuck right now. I have my PC VR computer, the one that I use for Link and any PC gaming that I do. It has a 1070 in it still, and you use the word affordable, and I'm that is such a subjective term that, I mean, what is an affordable card? I don't want to drop $500, $600, $700 on the next technology to have bleeding edge graphics or whatever. But at the same time, I don't want to be left behind,
Well, affordability is always a relative term, especially when you've got the Quest at $300, right? That's always the elephant in this room when we're having these discussions about graphics cards. It's like, you could go buy any of the graphics cards that are out there and any of them are going to be more expensive than a Quest. So it's like affordability it's a completely different environment. So like, what are you buying your graphics card to do is kind of the core question. And if there's a lot of Quest owners out there that want to go get a PC for that next level of VR gaming, then this is going to be the type of graphics card you're going to want to consider.
You know, a conversation that we haven't had as much recently, it still happens, but it's not as prevalent, is the whole min spec, the whole what computer do I need versus what do I really want to be able to do PC VR.
Did you see this?
And I feel like this sort of.
Did you see the specs for Medal of Honor? They're absurdly high. They're just at the very high end. And then earlier this year we had Half-Life Alyx, which kind of bumped it up a little bit. At least I think in the RAM department, you had to have a lot of RAM, where a lot of the min spec machines didn't have that before. And the thing I thought about with Medal of Honor, tell me if you think this theory might be true. Do you think Medal of Honor was targeted for a Rift 2?
That's interesting. I hadn't really given that much thought, because I have been saying my whole life, okay, and I'm going to date myself here, so just deal with me. You can even throw an OK Boomer at me if you want, even though I'm not one.
He always has to say he's not a boomer, so if you call him OK Boomer,
I'm not.
He'll defend himself, but we know the truth.
I'm not. I was born in 79. That's not boomer. Anyway, I remember when, I guess it was Doom. When Doom first came out, the computer that I was running couldn't handle it. Like, there were all these games coming out that my current computer couldn't handle. And so I had to upgrade, put more RAM, get a different video card. I think actually I got my very first actual video card when I moved in. You have the little VGA with 256 megabytes of RAM or whatever. I actually got a real legit, it was like a Voodoo, something like that, Banshee or something. That drove me to go get new hardware because it was a software I wanted to play. Once I had the hardware, I went, ooh, what's the next piece of software that will run well on this card? And so software drives the hardware drives the software, and it keeps incrementally getting bigger and better. This, I think, is just that step, is needing some high-end card to be able to play Medal of Honor, which that's a title that everybody's very aware of. So I don't know. I think we're just seeing the natural progression of what we're used to in the PC industry translating over into the VR world.
Yeah.
And I think it's a smart thing.
It's kind of it kind of feels like at some point pretty quickly there around 2017, maybe late 2017, that the PC manufacturers realized that VR wasn't going to be the market builder that they expected it to be for like the PC market. And I think by this generation of card, you're starting to see, there was a period there where they were putting VR technologies into the cards, the virtual link on the back, and they've abandoned all that stuff. And we're starting to see them settle around like, just let's increase the frame rates, let's increase the resolution, let's increase the detail and the lighting, so there's more dynamic lighting. All those things are getting added, but it's only like, it only has like a side effect on VR of making VR better. It's not a direct advance. And I think that's kind of the problem I'm thinking of with these graphics cards, is that they're not doing the thing that everyone wants out of their PC VR, which is making it wireless easily. And I don't know when we're going to have that. When are we going to have a PC, a really easy to use PC-based piece of hardware that's not expensive, that lets you do VR wirelessly? Like, I feel like this is almost, yes, it'll make your graphics look great, but it's not going to make your game significantly better.
I wonder, because I've been through this myself, I wonder how many people are looking at these new juicy cards and going, ooh, I really want this. But then they have like an i5 with 8 gig of RAM, and this is going to be the most expensive piece of their kit going forward. That's not good. There's a lot of people, I think, when the cards continue to increment like this and come out, new things come out, your target audience is only that upper certain percentage, I don't want to put a number on it, but an upper percentage of folks who have computers powerful enough to be able to run this sort of thing. Because these have min spec as well, I would imagine. I mean, to some degree, I've never actually looked at that. Do video cards have min spec? I bet there is.
I mean, you're gonna have a bad experience. You can have a bad experience if you hook it up to the wrong hardware. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that the target audience for this sort of thing, I don't know. That's an interesting thought.
I don't know
now,
that
somebody
it's VR
made a
people.
comment.
Yeah, VR people. Yeah, are they getting these cards?
I see. That's the thing. I don't know. But the comment that I have here is that about the Bitcoin rush. Anakazi says the Bitcoin rush screwed the first 2 years of consumer VR, and the reason that Anakazi is saying that is because it drives the price up. The value of these have stayed high. Like I expected cards to be, I don't know, $200. You know, where's that $199 card that is super powerful that I can afford? Where is it? It's not there because they know the demand is because of Bitcoin mining and all that.
Where is the darn Steam machine that's VR capable? It's like I understand why Valve sort of abandoned that, but it's it was such an obvious thing, and it's just missing from the world. It's just not there, never existed. No one ever knows what it would have been. But like I think there was a significant amount of people out there that want the freedom of a PC without necessarily the hassle of having to build it yourself. And the question is, how low can you get the price by doing that and still have it be a reliable machine? And Valve or someone like that needs to do it.
You know, you could answer all of these requests by just making VR available on the Xbox seriously, that's all the Xbox X1, X2 plus 05, whatever it's called. They could just make that VR compatible and let it run Windows. Let it run Steam.
They've got to
run.
I mean, I think they've let Windows Mixed Reality age so much they need to have an overhaul when they do it, but it's all there. All the bones are there. They need to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I developed for Windows MR. I did HoloLens development. It's a solid infrastructure. It would definitely, if they put a little effort into it and made it a little bit more universally available and actually pushed it, I think that would be a major contender.
So I brought this up before, but I don't know why more people don't know about IllumiRoom, right? I always was impressed with IllumiRoom as a platform for Microsoft to explore. The thing that always got me about IllumiRoom was it seemed to have environmental understanding that we really need in the VR space. And it's easy to imagine an Xbox that knows where your couch is and where you need to go sit down when you don't want to stand up. And like, I think if Microsoft really gets that environmental understanding locked down, that's going to be an incredible device.
I can't help but notice the RTX 3090, ridiculous amount of VRAM, $1,500. $1,500. I am blown away at I wouldn't spend $1,500 on a complete PC set right now, and only because I'm stingy. But that one piece, I can't imagine spending $1,500 on a video card. Who is the target audience for that? Bleeding edge people. That's it. Or I guess maybe, enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much enterprise usage that would get, but I mean, if you look down, just 3 teraflops less for 700, and then 10 less than for 500.
I always love when they talk teraflops. It's like, what can I do with a teraflop? I don't know. It's like, it's a teraflop. What does it matter? These charts, like, I mean, to your point, it's the software that drives it, and I think we need to see, like, it's going to be real interesting to see how Medal of Honor sort of lands, and think about what that represents to the PC VR community. Like, Alex was an incredible show of strength for Valve, in my opinion. And I don't know, Facebook abandoned PC. They should have this. I mean, they just turned it into a link cable for the rest of the future of Facebook's VR efforts. And I just don't know. I don't know that we'll see anyone but Valve investing in PC VR. So yes, Xbox could add VR, but that's not PC VR if they brand it that way.
True. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I always struggle with the concept of what is an actual AAA title. And like how do you define, oh, that's a AAA studio? Well, that's an indie studio, but that's AAA studio. This indie studio spent $1 million more than this AAA studio, but they're still AAA. It's like a Michelin star restaurant. How do you get that rating? You know? And I think we are going to see more emphasis put onto getting AAA titles into VR over the course of the next 6 to 9 months. I think there might be some stellar stuff.
They'll all be on Quest. I mean,
well, will they be?
I mean, Facebook's going to everything that Facebook's going to fund is going to be Quest first or Quest only. It's just a question of whether Microsoft and Sony and even Valve maybe gets behind some of those VR projects to get them on systems other than Quest. And I get PlayStation and Sony, and we're expecting that, but we have to get to see the big confirmed projects.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's take, for example, Lo-Fi. You know, from the Technolust developer, Lo-Fi is going to be a very epic AAA style type of game for PC VR, and it's coming soon to headsets near you. But you know, it's not just a Quest game; it's a PC VR game. It's been in production for however long. I just knocked over a bottle of water. How, you know, is this sort of thing still going to be around? Because you can't do this on Quest.
Well,
I mean, there's way too much going on
until wireless gets here, right? I mean, that's the thing about wired is like the wire just constricts so much of the market opportunity, right? And there's so many people that love PCVR, and I've always valued PCVR, and I always will, because it's the only true open platform for VR right now. You can go out and buy your own pieces, put them all together in your living room, and at the end of the day have an experience of a place that isn't actually there. Like, that's magic to me. I love that. But it reduces how big of an opportunity VR is for the developers out there. Blair would be an interesting person to talk to, the developer of Lo-Fi. I just blanked on the name. Because he has been so focused on PC VR for so long, but he has kind of come around, I think, to the idea that he needs to be on the biggest platform. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I want him here to speak for it, but like, I think he's come around to wanting to be on Quest, right?
Well, the thing is, this game will be on Quest at launch through the use of a link key or through virtual desktop streaming, however you want to play it. But will it be untethered on Quest? That's probably a hard no. Or at least not until some magic voodoo shows up to allow that kind of thing to happen. Yeah. So who knows? Yeah, here's the get early access. Yep.
And PlayStation 5.
Well, I mean, I see that. Yeah. Very cool. No, I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to see a demand. I mean, obviously, the reason we're talking about PCVR is because of the video cards. I think that NVIDIA and AMD or whatever, the video card makers still want PCVR to exist, but at the same time, there's just that good old fashioned will it run crisis type of mentality, and your bleeding edge PC master race type of people are going to go out and get the latest and greatest, and I think these companies know that. I think they know that is always going to be that first initial chunk of their sales, and then they can lower the cost a little bit and get the next group in.
Yeah.
So I think this is just standard stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's move on to the next piece of news that we have. Yet another opportunity for me to mispronounce something. The Varjo XR-3 LiDAR powered with 12 megapixel pass through at 90 hertz. The new Varjo XR-3 and VR3 headset feature automatic IPD adjustments with eye tracking and foveated rendering. And that's just the beginning, Ian. These headsets sound really hopped up. What do you think?
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone about this where I think I think there's an opportunity for a MacBook Pro of VR. I'll call that's the way I'll put this. I think the Quest is probably the equivalent of maybe a Mac Mini. There's like I don't even know if there's an Apple equivalent because Apple just doesn't care about gaming at the same way others do. So it's hard to find an analogy for what the Quest represents. But I think there's a product category above that bottom product category for everyone for going into VR and spending 8 hours of time for work. And it's a product category that does not exist, and it won't exist until the headsets are way lighter and visually they're doing something visually, maybe a varifocal that relaxes your eyes in a way that none of the headsets today do. Varjo is not doing that yet, but I feel like XR4, XR5, XR6 is on a collision course with whatever Facebook ends up doing to try to get those 8 hours a day workers into VR. And I think this is kind of like a preview. If like Facebook shipped a Rift 2, I bet it would have been something similar to this at a very different price tag. Now that's saying a lot, right? Every feature that gets packed into these headsets is up to being chopped off, like to save money. And Facebook is very particular about cutting off as much money as they can. But what I find so interesting about these headsets is the LiDAR, right? So iPhone 12 and the most recent iPad Pro both have LiDAR on them, and I use them to scan a couple rooms at my house so that I could have those memories before I changed the rooms around. And it was as simple as downloading an app, pointing the iPad around the room, and then hitting save or process. And I had a 3D scan of my environment. I'm trying to hold Facebook's feet to the fire as much as I can. It's what me and my team are doing. We ask them the hard questions, and we try to get out of them the most honest answers we can. I mean, we're just going to get corporate speak out of them, but it's important that we put on the record what their efforts are. That said, I understand why they don't give developers access to the cameras. All it takes is one bad actor, and everything in your room is in someone else's server.
Yeah, I know. It's a challenge. It really is a challenge, but at the same time, it's the type of challenge that stifles progress.
So they need APIs. They need ways to anonymize the data, and they're working at it. And I think it's just people like Godin Virtual Desktop. That product needs access to APIs that other apps don't necessarily need access to. Like that app needs serious permission, and I think it could do more if it had more APIs that aren't there. And it's yes, there's maybe a tier of access where they could trust sources. But look what just happened to Facebook, right? They had an app platform where they let apps pull users' data and then store it. And all they had to do was say, we don't store it, but they were allowed to. They could physically do it if they wanted. And all they really required was like a promise that you're not going to do it. And I don't think a promise is enough of a deterrent to misuse.
Yeah, no, at the very least, we need a pinky swear. Okay. At the very least, pinky swear. No, I get it. It's a slippery slope, and I really appreciate both sides to this debate. I really do, because while I want to see MR, mixed reality, in its potential form using this new technology come to be, I also respect and appreciate the fact that there is a very good chance that it could be fallen into the wrong hands, could be used for evil. I get it. I totally, and I think most people would get that. But yeah, I don't know. This is an exciting setup for me.
I'd love to see an app like Spatial or Immersed, on these headsets. I'd be really curious to
Mm.
see what they do with these types of APIs.
Yeah, I do believe that there is some really good possibilities and potential for mixed office environment. I mean, virtual Ian sitting at my
Yep.
real desk just because I have a headset on would be
Yep.
really cool.
I think
Yeah.
that's what Michael Abrash at Facebook's research is. That's his. I think that's the entirety. I think that's the mission of Facebook research right now, is to deliver what you just
Yeah.
described. And this I
Yep.
think is showing us one version of what that next generation headset might look like.
Well, FRL's just right down the street. I'll go knock on the door and tell Abrash that's what
Yep.
we're looking for. All right. Well, hey, let's move on to the next piece of news then, because this one's fun as well. Qualcomm says new GPU is 35% faster than Oculus Quest 2's. It's Qualcomm is announcing its 2021 flagship chipset this week. It claims the new GPU 35% more powerful. We're talking about that. What is it, the 888 or something like that? It sounds like an airplane model, but what do we know about this chip?
Yeah, we're looking at it as a possible candidate for the next Quest. We're thinking that this might be the next Quest chip, or some variant of it would be the next Quest chip. And that makes it extremely interesting for obviously our audience. And so there's plenty of people out there, there's that cartoon out there of people waiting until VR is good enough for them, and they miss the whole, they're at 90 and now they're no longer, they're dead. They die, and now VR passed them up. They kept waiting for too long. There's plenty of people out there waiting for Quest 3 or whatever they're going to call it. And this, they're going to want to know, maybe they go out there and try Quest 2 and they're like, that's really good, but that thing is still heavy, right? It's too heavy for me. That would be this. I can understand plenty of people putting on the headset and having that reaction. Yeah, that's really cool, but it's too heavy for me. That's a pretty solid reaction to putting on the Quest. Quest 3 and this chip might enable more trade-offs than they were able to make with Quest 2. And that could be the thing that puts us over the threshold. I'm really curious. We debate it when we have Heaney in here in the studio. We're going to have a debate over, what will the Quest 3 look like and how far off is it and things like that. And there's people at Facebook making all of those trade-offs right now. The thing I hope to see is others adopting this chip, right? That's what everyone kind of is begging for. I mentioned this to someone too, that I am hearing almost universal fear about Facebook. And I'm talking from people that are making lots of money off of Facebook, right? So that's a lot to say. Like, there are people, this has been in our reporting, but we're still catching it. But there was the Bloomberg article that listed off all the developers having trouble with Facebook. And all I want to express is that people who are making a lot of money off of Facebook are even scared of Facebook, and it's universal across the board. And we've been saying it for years, and they are saying it. We need competition, right? If there's no competition here in the next year and a half or 2 years, it's basically what the iPhone was back in 2007. I remember Google coming out and saying, if we didn't make Android, there would have been only one mobile operating system. And that was more or less the pitch for Android, is here's an alternative to the one mobile operating system. And that's what the VR developers out there are begging for right now. So there needs to be Google or Apple or someone using this chip to make a competitor for the Quest as well. And I don't know if that's going to happen. It's one of those weird areas of the market where it's just not big enough for some companies to think it's interesting.
There are a few people in the chat, and I tend to agree with them, who are saying that the possibility that this chip that we're talking about right now is still going to be that flagship item by the time Quest 3 comes out. There might be a 999 or a 1010. Oh, God, don't do that. There might be something new that comes out since then. I mean, if you look at the iterations that Facebook skipped in terms of options, I mean, we all thought that the chip was going to be like the 850 or what. I can't remember what numbers they were, but we always thought we thought Quest 2 was going to be a lower chip. When it came out with the XR chip, it's like, oh, cool. That's fantastic. I wonder if there will be an XR3, XR4, XR5 that runs parallel to this chipset, and that this one's more for non-VR, XR, AR stuff. And then I don't know. I mean, we don't know what Qualcomm's full scope of their line is going to be down the road. What's their roadmap?
And we don't know how big of a customer Facebook is to them, right? So what kind of deals they have for working together. Facebook is, I think, very invested in them right now. That's one of the things that's key to the story is this chip is expected to cost quite a bit more than the chip inside the current Quest. And that can have a lot of follow-on effects. Like this chip may only go into a high-end product or something like that, or it's going to be attached to extra sensors. So maybe the next headset has the face, senses your facial movements or your eye movements, or senses more the environment because they have better cameras. And because they have better cameras, they're doing more processing of that data. And that's what all those things, that's what the processor might do. And I'm curious to see kind of like what Facebook or others choose to do with that chip. It's kind of an open, there's a lot of ways it could be used.
It's not just the chip that gives Quest its performance. It's the amount of RAM, the structure, the way it's built. I mean,
like you put the battery on the back of the headset, get a lot of the compute out of the front. I mean, maybe take the compute out, but if you put the battery back here and have it running to the front, like you start seeing things that could be balanced a lot better, weigh a lot better, feel a lot better.
I think that the Elite strap, which I'm using on my Quest 2 right now, I believe that was a test, that Facebook Oculus put that out there as a test to see if people are willing to have the battery on the back of their head. It's funny. I went to go point to the back of my head and my hand disappears. I love that. Oh, yeah. Anyway,
and they could put a camera back there if they have the battery. Like they have a lot of wiring in between the strap. Absolutely. They could even fix that tracking.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at a HoloLens, I mean, that's they take full advantage of both sides and the back and everything. It's it's a very, very well thought out piece of kit. So I'll be curious to see. I mean, as chips go ahead and keep coming out and getting better and better, I don't know if I necessarily want Facebook to jump on this chip. Maybe leave their options open for future chips. I'll wait until the next generation.
Yeah, well, that's the debate we'll have in Heaney in this studio sometime. Is is Facebook going to make a 2S or a 3, or a 2 Pro or something like that?
Yep. Well, since we're talking about Quest 2 at this point, let's talk about the next piece of news, which is that the Quest 2 launch surges Facebook's SteamVR usage share beyond 50%. Beyond 50%. Let's see here. More SteamVR gamers now use Oculus Quest headsets than Valve's own index, according to its monthly hardware survey data. Now, I have more than one question about this, and I don't recall exactly or not, but was the index meant to be a reference design, or was it actually meant to be the product?
Both. I think it was a reference design.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Valve did exactly what they wanted to. They partnered with HP and gave some of their tech to them to help improve the HP headset.
Okay. Why then?
I didn't give.
Is it availability of the product? Is it the price of the product? Is it the marketing of the product?
Price.
Why wouldn't the index be higher in its share?
Yes, it's price. It's $1,000 kit that requires a PC versus. We have our guide where we're like, these are all the accessories you should buy for a Quest. You should check out the VR cover. You should check out, a lens insert to cover up your lenses and all these things. And then the one we added it this year is a PC. We added a PC as an accessory to a Quest.
That's funny.
And it was kind of like funny to kind of reverse the whole the whole thing of the last 4 years. And I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the idea that a mobile first headset is more than 50% share on a PC
It was
platform.
inevitable. It's mind-boggling. Not a lot of people expected it, but it was inevitable. Heaney's been expecting it. I wonder if Heaney had a bet on what date it would happen. Like, I'm curious if he had an expectation, because I mean, it's like, yeah, this was inevitable. It just was a matter of time.
I don't know if you guys in your communications with Facebook Oculus have asked this question, but how are link cable sales going?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Like very specifically link cables, because you need to have a cable to be able to have 50% plus on the Steam hardware. So it's not,
It's
I
any
guess you could
USB
do
cable or any 2 plus cable. But it's still your point. I'm curious how good their sales are, because it's a $79. It's an expensive product that you could get for $15 or $10 if you really wanted to. You might already have it in your house, but there's plenty of people who want that extra distance.
I wonder how much of the success of Quest as a platform on Steam comes from the fact that they've changed the minimum requirements. I don't know if that's the right term to use for the cable to connect the headset to the PC. So you used to have 3.0. It had to have a certain speed, and now it's just like, cable will do it.
It just
not really, but
I can't wait to see the January report. Whatever report we get out of SteamVR in January is going to be astounding. Maybe we'll have to wait until February to see it actually reflected, because of all the people getting it right at the end of the month. But I think the percentages are going to be astounding next year.
So we got a few questions here. Redline Joe's says, no, the cable is not required. Most people on Quest platform are playing with no cable. So I'm assuming he's talking about virtual desktop.
Yeah, and I don't think that's true. I mean, there's a lot of people using virtual desktop, but it's a tough question to ask whether that's the majority.
Yeah, G-Dog Cheeseburger wants to know, do you think that the link cable is worth the price? The official cable, no comment. But yes, you should have a link cable, in my opinion. Whatever one you can afford to get.
It's tough. That's a really tough question. You've got a lot of variables to decide if that's worth it. I would personally go for a USB extender and a cheap 2.0 cable. And if you want a better experience down the line, get the $79 one. But that's just me. That's different for every person.
Well, exactly. It is different for every person. But yes, we do recommend that you check it out however it is you want to do it. Maybe search through your 8 boxes of cables. If you're anything like me, you have 8 boxes of cables. You don't know what they're for, but you don't want to get rid of them because you're a pack rat and want to keep all your tech. One of those cables might provide you with some taste of it, and then you can decide whether you want the good one or not. It's your call. Okay. Is there anything else that we can say about the survey and the 50%? I mean,
no.
Any predictions for next month? I mean, you mentioned it, but I think it's 75%.
Honestly, it could be. I mean, I think that's how significant of a Christmas Facebook has set itself up for. It could dwarf previous Christmases for VR. Just make it a whole.
Well, if you're anything
bigger.
like me and you're getting nonstop barrage of questions from family and friends, hey, I know you're in VR, so what do you recommend?
It's funny. I've been recommending VR. This is the first year I have actually looked at my paycheck and wondered, can I buy the headset for family? Right? Like, it's one of those things where I've had Gear VR, I've had Oculus Go, I've had every headset, and I bought a fair number of them for myself without, just because I needed to have them, or I felt like I needed to have them. This is the first time where I've had these conversations with like my mom and go, all you need to do is log into Facebook, right? That's a pretty substantial moment. As much as we understand and report and are following, I don't think it was hard for Facebook to make Facebook accounts optional. A lot of this conversation about the Facebook accounts thing just gloss over that little moment that we could have had, where Facebook accounts could have continued to be optional, and they could have buried Oculus accounts under there. And there's, you could have still burrowed in and used an Oculus account if you really wanted. But, they could have done that way. In my opinion, I think that would have been a fine route. So let me just put that out there before I say, it's really easy to be able to tell your friends and family, all you got to do is spend $300 and log into Facebook, and you'll have a great experience with that headset. You probably won't use it every day, but it'll be an amazing experience when you do.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been telling people is just go, order it, pick it up at a store, however you want. I'm not encouraging folks to go into stores, but the curbside pickup is always an option. It's hard not to give the option and say $300 gets you VR. The only restriction is that you're not allowed to be anonymous, and that really is Facebook's agenda with this. And I go back and forth on it. I really do. I'm concerned about, compare a social media platform like Twitter to Facebook, to Reddit, to Instagram. Depending on the level of specific personal info that links you, gives you accountability, I think is what it is. I mean, you can't have something like Horizon, which is supposed to be Facebook's big social play. You can't have Horizon and anonymity at the same time. At least not in the way they're trying to form.
It's funny. I loved one of the. Did you see the VR Chats program? They've got a new subscription program on VR Chat.
Yeah, Plus.
Yeah,
VR Chat Plus.
That looks like a dating program to me.
Interesting.
I mean, just the marketing of it looks like the marketing of dating apps, where you have access to a free service and then you can upgrade for like more visibility. That's pretty much, I think, the way most of the dating apps work. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just seeing too much there. But one of the things that they had on their list of what that VR Chat Plus gives you is increased trust, I think is the way they worded it. And that might be a very interesting route around this problem. Like, what if you could go in and have a great experience with someone you met in VR, and then you both mutually choose to show your real identities after a certain amount of time?
Yeah. That's a good point. That might be a fun method to find some furries to date.
That would be a tip. Yeah. I mean,
it's VR chat, right? I'm either dating a meme or a furry. I mean, and there's not that there's anything wrong with that.
Plenty of people. I think
what the expectation is.
I think the numbers in VR chat have proven that there is a significant audience globally who care about that. And if they can turn that into a dating platform, holy crap! That's
more power to them. Yeah. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the group that has created VR Chat. Wonderful group of people. I highly recommend, if you haven't done VR Chat, to go check it out. The variety of worlds and avatars and everything, it's just amazing. I mean, it really is. But you have to be prepared for it.
Yep.
You have to be prepared for what it's going to be. I was in VR Chat. I walked into a McDonald's, and it was 300 little, do you know the way, kind of people. And I'm just like, I'm going crazy. Like it was just an entire room full of that. So much fun. So much fun.
I don't get it.
But
I don't. One day I will get it, but I feel like I need to wait and just, when it gets, I don't know. I'm not ready to see what you've just seen. I can't.
Oh yeah. Knuckles everywhere. That's all I can say. Yeah. Oh boy. All right. Hey, let's move on to the next piece of news here. So it looks like the HP Reverb G2 with index controllers, we've talked about this, is absurd. I love the wording here. Absurd, expensive, and the best. The absolute best. What Jamie tried this out, right?
We went back and forth on that headline. We talked about it, and I think it was Xena that suggested it, and we're like, yep, that's the one. Because it is absurd, and it is the best. I mean, Like you need great controllers and the great tracking of it's an interesting combo. And Jamie had such, he was out there. Please give Jamie some kudos out there. Letting everyone know what the problems were with that headset right at review time.
Oh, didn't clap.
Yeah.
Every time you clap, your hands disappear.
And
okay.
then he went out and I can't remember who did this first, but he has some kudos to give out in that article for who sort of tried this first. But it's like if you wanted a great simulator experience, you want to go drive some cars in VR, you want to fly some planes in VR, go get the Reverb G2, and then if you want to go play Alex, you could go attach the Index controllers. And it's as simple as that. But you're spending an arm and a leg to do it. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't really want to spend that much for something so absurdly awesome. But there we go.
Yep, exactly right.
Proof of concept stuff is great. The fact that this can happen is good enough for me. That it's
I love that you
newsworthy.
brought it out that it can work. And this is what I was thinking about with this, where we had a discussion with David where at one point David had a setup where he was using a Pimax, SteamVR base stations made by either HTC or Valve. I can't remember which. I think it was Valve. And then a headset made by another, it was Index controllers from Valve, base stations from HTC, and the Pimax headset. The three completely different companies, all making one hardware system that works together. And it's genius. It was amazing that it all worked together. What I'm wondering is if this is like a preview of Valve getting ready for the next generation of that interoperability in their SteamVR system. So what if with the next generation of whatever Valve does in VR, you could pick up multiple types of controllers and hold them in your hand, and the headset would recognize what controllers you have in your hand. Like, what if you picked up an Xbox controller and the system automatically knew you had an Xbox controller, and Steam only gave you controller games? Those are the types of things that can happen with the next generation of what we're seeing here. You've got Microsoft doing the environmental capture of just recognizing where the headset is in the room. But it's very easy to imagine that headset recognizing what controllers are in your hands, and sort of giving you a lot of additional things you can do in VR in the next generation.
I wonder if there's any level of sensor fusion, I guess, would be the right way to describe it, because you said that headset is not being tracked by the base stations, but the controllers are. So that headset has its position, but then also these controllers have their own. I wonder if SteamVR does any talking.
I don't think so, but I think that's exactly what I'm getting at. I think it will. I think that's what so their comment about 6 months ago now, I want to say, when they announced OpenXR support, was that new features in Steam will be attached to OpenXR. So it's easy to imagine a agreement between Microsoft and Valve where they agree, hey, for the next 2 years, all of our stuff needs to work together beautifully, and it's all going to be based on this open standard. That's actually that could explain, if they had that kind of agreement, that could help explain why Facebook abandoned PC VR so quickly. It's a dead end.
Because they know that they can't keep up?
Valve and Microsoft, if they have an agreement about how the operating system's going to work together and what access they get, it's based around OpenXR, all Facebook needs to do is support OpenXR to the bare minimum on PC VR in order to work well with others while also having their exclusive ecosystem on Quest.
I have to give some major props to Valve and the SteamVR setup. Having 50% of your users be a non-Valve company that you didn't, you may have worked with at some point or have a relationship with, all you'd have to do is turn off support for that headset and all those numbers go differently. but they really choose to care about the ecosystem as a whole and not be too selfish in terms of
OpenXR, I think that's
what
true
they're
with
doing.
OpenXR, but I think this is kind of what we're getting
Mm-hmm.
at, how OpenXR serves them and potentially other and their partners in the PC ecosystem. It's almost like a moat that kind of keeps Facebook away from this ecosystem that Valve's built for itself with Steam. Um, yeah, I'm, yeah, but I guess I don't I don't think Valve is very self-interested. Like yes, they care about the ecosystem and they need to have multiple headsets connecting with Steam in order for that to work. But it's all to stealth Steam games, right? It's not altruism.
True. That's true. That's true. It doesn't matter what headset you're using. You're buying the game on their
Yeah.
platform, so it's a win-win. I get that. That's pretty valid. Yeah, I wonder if we're literally in our own little digital version of like the cola wars at this point, and I wonder if Valve thought they'd be in that when they decided to explore VR. I mean, obviously Oculus was committed to that, but I wonder if Valve knew they were getting into this level of friendly competition, friendly-ish competition. I wonder if this is what they intended. I mean, they're obviously still all in.
They've lost so many people, and they're such a small company. So they have to contract out with so many groups in order to do the things that they do. And I don't know if they're structured to compete with Facebook at the same level on the next generation. Like, yes, what they care about is PC. How do you get the benefits of standalone plus PC and not require a Facebook account? Like, I think everyone is kind of saying those are the three things I want, right? I want standalone. I want to have the option to go to PC when I want to, and I don't want to log into Facebook. Can Valve do those three things? I don't think so. So I would be please surprise me. Please surprise me.
I think you're asking the wrong question. Can they? Yes.
Yeah.
Will they? I don't know. I don't know. Not really sure. Not really sure. Well, and that's fine. This is as absurdly awesome as this is. Proof of concepts always are a fun piece for me, and I'll be curious to see what other fun stuff is coming down the road that will work with each other. That's just so funny to see that set up there. Yeah. All right. Last piece of news for the day is VR artists. They are so sad because Google shut down Google Poly. It's gone. Bye-bye. Google Poly was used for storing VR artist creations. I mean, what's the logic here?
Yeah, whoever Google focus every 6 months it seems Google refocuses its teams and its products and throws all the teams, into new areas, and this is just a very long story for Google of abandoning things. Sketchfab. I'm going to throw out Sketchfab there. We've mentioned it a couple of times.
Sketchfab.
That developer, that company has been around longer than Google, and it's still here, and it still seems to be going strong. And the only problem is it's not the same type of service. It's structured to try to move you towards upgrading to a pro account, which makes a lot of sense. Is do you want to, the company needs to make money and a profit to stay in business, and you want there to be a good relationship with you and the company so that they're not feeding off your data, right? You want to be paying them so they don't have to feed off your data. That's not Google. Google wants, Google tried to do the YouTube model, it seemed like, for 3D content, and it just was the wrong time of the market, I think, for that particular product. So it's a very good chance that Sketchfab might be able to get there with the right kind of funding and with the right kind of timing, where they could become that. But it's a differently structured business. But it's a bummer to have this situation where people could do a lot of things like throw up a model as an unlisted link and then share that unlisted link to another person and have that person checking out the model without the whole world knowing about it.
Was Poly what was that? You and I tried it last event we were with together. Was it Spatial or was it something else?
Yeah. So Spatial had the API where you could actually speak a word and it would pull in the object, an object that fit that word from Poly. So you could just say dinosaur, and a dinosaur would appear in front of you that someone had made in Google Blocks or something and then uploaded to Poly. And it was a very, very, very cool idea. But I don't know, someone at Google decided it's too far away, or we can buy the company instead.
I wonder if this is indicative of some other form of product or item that Google is putting together that they need to kill this first so that way this new product can take over. Because I don't see any logic to turning this off. I see no logic. I have yet to hear anybody say this makes sense because like, I don't get it.
I doubt it had as much as the users who used it loved it. I just gotta think that it was a bill. It was a huge red. I mean, I guess it's Google. That's just server space. There's no one that has more affordable server space on Earth. So yeah, your point is perfectly valid. It's just, I don't know. I
don't get it. I don't know.
I have one theory.
Did not understand that when I read that.
My only theory can be is that Google is scared of antitrust just like the rest of them. And they're like picking their battles, killing off products that demonstrate that they don't care about the market or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's just one of those weird things that it happened. We deal with it. I really feel bad for the folks who have been using it to store their art. I mean, it's like a museum burning down. It's like
a museum burning down, but they tell you you've got 90 days to get your art out before it goes up in the house.
Yeah. Oh wow, man. Oh well. Hey, you know what? I mean, we'll see what happens. That's the beauty of being in this industry is that things are constantly changing and new stuff comes out and old stuff goes away and replaced. Ever changing.
Right. We love you, Tiltbrush.
Awesome.
We hope you're okay. We hope you survive, Tiltbrush.
That's right. That's right. We got your back. I mean, virtually. Don't ask me for money. Anything in the chat talk about? I'm just taking a look here. I know we had some issues earlier with our stream. It looks like those were fixed at some point. Looks good. As always, wonderful conversation happening in the chat. I mean, it's really valuable to us to see that you share. So anytime you do have the opportunity to join us live and be part of that chat, it's fantastic. Yeah. I don't know, Ian, do you have any closing final thoughts before we part ways with our friends here?
Check out uploadvr.com very soon. We're going to have a lot of things up for the holidays and plan to end this year with a bang. We're all work from home. The pandemic is still going, and VR is more important to our lives than ever.
Yep. I watch my children every day get on to virtual school, and I think, yeah.
I made it about 15 pages, so let us know. We'll talk about it on another podcast, but
absolutely,
I'll try.
We'll get a little roundtable discussion going. Yeah. Well, we'll see. So anyway, check out uploadvr.com. Check out our YouTube page. There are holiday guides, and if you have friends like we do, friends and family who are constantly asking you, "What do I get? I don't understand VR." Send them to Upload. They can get all the information they need right there. And it's one link that you have to send them, and then you're done. Your obligation is over. So we're doing you a favor. Check it out. Okay, well, seems to be good. Check our show out on... You think we'll do a show on Thursday?
I think so. My internet is fixed. I'm back.
Great. Fantastic. Yes, no more Taco Bell Wi-Fi for either of us. I love it.
We'll see. We'll see how long this lasts. Winners. It'll be 2 weeks before we're both, the wind kills yours, and
Yep. Stupid Seattle weather. All right, everyone. Be smart. Be safe. We'll see you next time. See you in the future. Goodbye.